we don't stop this conversion, Hindus will be in the museum piece, like in Mesopotamian civilization and all these, the Greek civilization and Latin civilization, all these guys will all be in the museum piece to avoid that. And in 15 years in India, they will only need 50 MPs to take over. The minorities are going to control India. Do you know? Just 50 MPs, their shortage, and they're already continuously and nicely placing their own people. The Christians vote as one vote blank, and everybody, all the other things. Whereas Hindus are the only ones not voting as one, like Swamiji saying, Hindu votes are sacred, and that is what we need to do. We need to vote as one vote block, and we can do it. And if those 50 MPs they secure. Yes, I used to think in 2015, 2005, by 2050, Hindus will be diminished in India, but that has been rapid conversion, and we only have another 15 years, and they're only looking for 50 MPs in India, members of parliament, and once they achieve, Hindus being a majority will be controlled by another one more thing. So the Mughals did it, British did it, and now in the fame of Abrahamics, they are working together to take over the majority, and that needs to be stopped. If you don't stop that, they will get the political power and muscle power, money power, and you are finished. So for that reason, Hinduism and should protest, stop it, and the conversion needs to be dealt head on.
Yes, yeah. So actually, there's one point which I wanted to add here. Yes, thank you so much, Aya. So there's just one thing which I want to add here, which I like telling in every day in the Jivata Sadas, a recurring point. So, what is the definition of a religion? As per the Wikipedia definition, a single source book, a single deity,
no volume.
And
Maharaj, there is no audio.
Yannam, am I audible now?
Yeah, please.
Am I audible now? Yes, thank you.
Yes, we can hear it.
Yes. So I just wanted to add to Bhagavan Reddy, and I just wanted to give a point here, which I give every day. Hinduism is much more than just a single religion. If you take the Wikipedia definition of a religion, it consists of only one source book, one devata, and one set of faiths and beliefs. So if in that sense, Hinduism is not a single religion. Hinduism is equivalent to easily a million religions. Within Shaivism itself, the different types of Shaivism which we have, within the Shakta Sampradaya, the followers of Devi, within that Sampradaya itself, the different branches which are there, each branch in its own has easily more than multiple source books and multiple versions of Devi, multiple versions of Shiva. And if you see this way, yes, as Bhagavan Reddy had shared, that we are already accommodating 33 crore devatas and deities. Accommodating a few more extra will not make a big difference for us. This is one thing which I just wanted to put out there. Where as it is, Hinduism cannot be classified as a religion, it can be classified only as a higher science. And it is because all these religions, like now as per the sense, we can call now Shaivism is a religion by itself. Ganapatyam, the followers of Ganesha, is a religion by itself. So all of these religions, because they adapt the higher science of Hinduism, of the principles and core cognitions of Hinduism, they come under the classification of Hinduism. But Hinduism itself is not a religion. We already have thousands of religions, and we are capable of accommodating more, if that is the thing. So just another point which I wanted to bring out here is, so Aya had beautifully shared how Hinduism is very different from Christianity, how even from the core cognitions is fundamentally they label everyone as sinners, and we label ourselves as divine from the beginning. So all this is fine and great, but we are not even running half the speed which they are running at. How we do not even have little bit of organization which they have come. Say in the Joshua project, which we had seen today, is one of 8 entities which is being funded by Frontier Ventures. So like the Joshua project, they have 8 more entities just focused on the single sole purpose to convert everyone to Christianity. Even though we are a higher science, even though our beliefs and our cognitions go much deeper than just being a sinner or sin-free person, we are not able to reach out, and we do not have the drive basically. as Aya had shared, we're all sleeping Kumbhakarnas, and even after multiple discussions, even after so many research pieces, not just by Hindus but by Americans themselves. If you just Google it, there are so many researches by Americans on how Hinduism is the greater science, Hinduism is the future of the world. But even with so much of support, so much of scientific backing, we are not even running half the speed Christianity is running. So this is a fundamental problem which we are facing in this day, and this is something which Swamiji has been telling continuously in the satsangs for the past 2-3 days. How Hindus are being reluctant warriors, and we are not standing up for ourselves. We are not protecting ourselves. We don't need, as we have discussed here, we do not need to take the swords and go and fight, but we need to protect what is ours. Yes, sir.
Point I wanted to add. This is
yes,
there's a point.
Definitely. One more thing, Maharaj.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Actually, I just wanted to add what your point connected with what Maharaj told. Maharaj, yeah, you have been repeating every day that Hinduism, as per the definition of a religion in Wikipedia, is not the true. But I feel this is a sleep-inducing point. It's going to put people back into the Hindu, then they'll go into the sleep thinking, Hinduism will never be destroyed. Then, it's so big, It's a sleep-inducing point, Maharaj. It's going to make people think that it's not an urgency to that it's going to be destroyed today. I'm going to lose so much. See, again and again, if we reiterate in the mantra that we tell is as vast as impossible, it can never be destroyed, then urgency is never felt. Unless we feel like now there's going to be, unless we have the information now and the activism that moment to moment how things are being deconstructed from Hinduism side. And that information is very much there, because the examples we only know that it's being deconstructed is the activism of the Christians. We only know that we are seeing the information that they are being extremely active, because at the expense of our inactiveness and our inability to hold on to the people and inspire them and keep them inside this religion. So that's what I wanted to add, that it is repetitive, and it's again coming back to that point of thinking that we will always exist and we're vast, and it's a lot of self-glorification, but it's at the expense of looking at what is the immediate urgency.
So yes, the point is very valid. It is a sleep-inducing point, and I feel this is the point in which our ancestors had been living with for so many thousands of years, and which has led to the current state of Hinduism.
Yes, definitely agree. So, like, to clarify that, so even though we have Mukkoti Devatas, like the 3 million deities and Devatas and Devis we have, so having 2 more is not a problem. But that is not the point. The point is we are accommodating, but they don't want to be accommodated. They'll come to our house, they just destroy a house, take over and say it's mine. So that is the problem. When you accommodate, we were talking of Atithi Devo Bhava. Right? When you talk of Atithi Devo, they have abused us. When they have abused us, see, for example, I will give another thing. On a Naga Chavati day, we pray to a snake, saying that it is the God himself or herself, which is a Devi Devata. But the same snake come to our bedroom, we kill it without any mercy. So the same thing, we have an abundance of, we respect the whole humanity as the divine. But if the divine crosses its Lakshmana Rekha, you cannot accept that. You need to get rid of it. The way you protect your house, the way you protect your car, the way you protect your money, you should protect your identity and your religion, which has been so accommodating, and you're treating the Atithi, the guest, the people, all the invaders we come, and then the invaders, they abused our niceness and goodness even today, and they're demanding more rights than Hindus. Hindus cannot have their own universities. Hindus cannot have their own thing. Hindus have their own religion is managed, and then regulated, and the laws have been done, and Hindu temples and the monasteries and the mosques have been done by this. So on one side we are an implosion and for our own sleeping giants, and the government is also not favorable to us, and even though majority is, the democracy is supposed to work for majority and while protecting minorities, but they're just supporting the minorities at the expense of majority. What kind of a stupidity is that? The ridiculous. But then we are just watching and then letting it happen. So that is just very, very sad. And that is what we need to bring the awareness. Our house is on fire. We cannot go back and say how this all started. We need to first fix the house, stop this fire, And that is what we need to do. To stop that, we need to bring the awareness. Awareness is the key. Our sword, our power, our weapon is the awareness. And once you're aware, then they won't come. See how many people are wearing asserting yourself as a confident Hindu. Not even one. You don't even put botu. You see all our ladies, they put a small tiny thing. Why? They made us ashamed being a Hindu. Why can't you wear your own thing? They don't have a problem wearing the burqa.
Okay.
They don't have problem wearing the silva or that cross. And why a Hindu has a problem wearing this? And that is what they are using, making us defensive, making us the weak. And then the same continues divide and rule, and they are converting us. We should stop this conversion at once.
Yeah, can I?
One point that was made by Maharaj, which was very prudent and maybe a takeaway from our discussion today. Maybe we should focus on that, which is essentially the converting back. The method of enriching can be also called saving the soul. So because that you can draw some parallel with that, with the tagline they are saying that you are saving the soul. In that case, using our third eye power and everything, can we consider that as can we make that a habit or part of our process and define it that way? That is a very valid point. I would like to see what everyone thinks on that.
Yeah, no, I think we are confusing symptom with the disease. Conversion is a symptom of a disease, and what is the disease actually? And the disease has many aspects as well. And the disease might exist in more than one part of the body. And if you take humanity as one body, the disease exists amongst Hindus as well, and then amongst Christians and Muslims or all other evangelical religions. So what is the disease? A disease which has, so every government, everybody in this world is banning Islamic terrorism. What are they doing about the church, which has eliminated the entire race of Native Americans, Native Australians, many races within Africa, and many people in races and tribes in India has been eliminated, in Asia, other parts of Asia. So why is it being treated differently from Islamic terrorism? If Islam itself has an issue of it being terroristic, then why are you dealing Islam differently from Islamic terrorism then? Why this hypocrisy? Who is talking about the hypocrisy? Should this discussion happen at the level of the United Nations or something like that? No, conversion is just a symptom of this disease. I don't want to name which is the disease, which should be obvious for most logical and people who have at least a hair brain. So we cannot, we should first actually have a framework. So the disease has to be, the Pope has a papal bull, which Raji Malhotra repeatedly points out every now and then, which claims that the southern hemisphere belongs to the Catholics and the northern hemisphere belongs to the Protestant. And that is not been repealed yet by the church. And as late as 1996 or something like that, there was a genocide in Rwanda, similar to Aryan Dravidian theory. They caused the Hutus and Tutsis to actually consider themselves as two different races. One related to the Europeans and the other more African. And then they caused the rift, and they had a genocide which happened within the church, for which the Pope apologized in 2016. For 2000 years, they have not changed until like 10, 15 years ago. They're still continuing with the tactics in India and everywhere else. So what is the disease here? So how are you going to treat the disease? And the disease needs to be treated the way that it has to be. Even in Ayurveda, you have surgery. Not only just medicine, not only just being nice. When a tumor has to be cut out, it has to be cut out. We are just talking about the symptoms and, what this and this and all these things. Unfortunately or unfortunately, the Mahabharata, there is a war in Mahabharata. Violence is defined differently in, ahimsa parama dharma, of course. But it's just like allowing more violence, is it dharma? No, I don't think Swamiji said that. Or neither does Hinduism, but we just ignoring the disease and talking about the symptoms. I think the question is right, but that doesn't mean that we should actually not go to the root of what is making us, put across this question, which is the disease. And if you're talking about headache, and we should also consider if there is a tumor inside or if there is bleeding inside the brain, if what is the cause of the headache. So what is the cause of conversion? Conversion has many aspects to it. The disease has many aspects to it. And conversion is one of the major symptoms of the disease. It's also the lackings amongst the Hindu society, because the major 99% of the Hindus are not Hindus. They are Hindus in name alone. To be very honest, let people call me biased. No, very few people outside the Nityananda Sampradaya are genuine Hindus these days. Who is following rituals? Okay, we all lapse, and I do lapse. Many days I miss puja, or I just do panchopachara puja, or I just miss yoga. I just do like 2 minutes, 5 minutes yoga, and all these kind of things. Yes, but at least we recognize that these are all essential aspects of Hinduism. How many people, all the people who want to be Hindus and the so-called neo-Hindus are Hindus in name knowingly. They want a philosophy or theology which will say like anything goes. Is that Hinduism? And they defend Hinduism in the framework which will allow them to actually practice anything goes. It is not Hinduism they are defending. It is anything goes that they are defending. And if they know if Christianity or Islam or communism takes hold, anything goes has no place. We can spend hours in Jivartha Sadas or Vakyartha Sadas talking about the symptoms. And I don't think, I'm sorry, Swamiji wants us to do that. We are still only talking about symptoms. We are not talking about the disease. It is a disease. Let them have this debate in a court of law. Why are you then banning Islamic terrorism? When you can allow a church which is committed and committing genocide for the past 1,500, 2,000 years, is that not terrorism? Even Islamic terrorism hasn't eliminated an entire race. Show me a place where they eliminated an entire race. No, continental size. Australian continent. Australia is a continent-sized country. We should call a spade a spade. There is no time left for Hindus. Hindus think voting for Modi buys us, they think it will solve the problem. Even if Modi is genuine, which I think he is probably, because he is a Shiva Bhakt. He has constraints within his own ecosystem, the Neo-Hindutwas. He is within the Neo-Hindutva ecosystem. At the most, he's buying time. In another 10, 15 years, like somebody here pointed out, Bhagavan Reddy Ayya pointed out, the demographic change will be so much that the numbers, Hindus will be a minority. But forget that, like how can somebody allow, secularism is basically promoting genocide. Is it constitutional within even the existing system? What about the right to life in the constitution? What about defamation? They continuously defame in the kingdom of heaven, what they call Paraloka Rajyam in Tamil, in the Bible. The kingdom of heaven has 12 gates, which 12 gates has one name inscribed on top of each of them. One name is the name of each tribe, which is basically caste. Only that caste people can enter into that gate. Where did casteism come into India? Is Vyasa a Brahmin? Is a black-skinned, 100% black-skinned Krishna and Rama a Brahmin? A person who lives in cremation grounds, Shiva Brahmin? Who lives in cremation grounds? Is he living in Agraharam? Complete defamation of Hinduism and all these things. No, we are addressing. Okay, again, I am also talking about symptoms. These are all symptoms because the disease is something else. The disease is, we are allowing the disease to prosper. We have to call a disease a disease. We should stop worrying about the symptoms and just go after the disease. To ask a question about the symptom is good. But doctor asks, do you have a headache? Doesn't mean he stops with that. The doctor goes around, did you drink? Is it a hangover headache? Or you've been having this headache for a month? Do you have vision issues? So it could be because of a tumor causing pressure inside the brain. causing this headache along with the vision issues and things like that. So you go deeper and identify the disease. The disease is, we are not prepared to call a spade a spade. It has nothing to do with us converting or reconverting and things like that. It is us, we have to remove the disease. And the disease is these two theologies is a disease because they've been they continue to do, they're continuously doing for the last 2,000 years genocide. First, let them resolve that issue. Let the global Assembly of Nations, United Nations, of whatever it is, respond to this question: what have they done to stop genocide? And how can they allow some philosophy or theology which is consistently, continuously done genocide to continue to do that? If somebody has done a mistake, even if it is genocide once or twice, okay, you can excuse them. What excuse do they have? What guarantee will they give they will not do this? In fact, the evidence is to the contrary. They're doing more and more of it. No, it is time because we don't have time to be polished. Anyways, Swamiji and Sangha is being discriminated and abused and defamed in every possible aspect. Why should we be, being censored? What not? Whether we say these things or not, it will be done. Then why actually not say this? Let's be open about it.
What is the disease, Maharaj?
The disease, I'm going to be very frank with you. The two theologies which has been consistently doing genocide after genocide after genocide and still continuing to do genocide and eliminated almost half the races on the native planet, Native Americans, Native Australians, all these things, is the disease. And the disease has another aspect. People like Hindus have not done anything about it. The Dharmic people, let it be Hindus or even non-Hindus, other whatever they call pagans or anything, have allowed this to happen. That is another aspect of the disease. Both put together is the disease. For example, if your immune system hasn't fought off the cancer in your body, the problem is also with the immune system. So together they form the disease. So let's not blame just those people alone who's perpetrating all these atrocities of genocides over 2,000 years. It is also, there was this book written by 3 priests from the Catholic Church, which is still available on Amazon, where they say like for 2,000 years there have been child abuse.
Could I suggest a solution here?
Actually,
Yes.
I wanted to bring the point to actually this urgency that Ayya has brought. Thank you, Dr. Murli. You've nicely, no pun intended, but doctored the entire conversation into a good example of what is the actual disease and the symptoms of the disease. But you have brought out a nice sense of urgency in this discussion, that which is what we were wanting to start out with. I was trying something that Swamiji himself is telling in the Rastis and Satsangs, that it is urgent, it is time. Hinduism is going to disappear, and that beautiful that the conversation has come to that, and it has come to now a point where we understand the desperateness of it and the effort that Swamiji is putting into it to build a sovereign nation, to have land and to find out through any way possible to be able to have property and have the legal rights to being able to practice our religion as Hinduism. And he sees this because Swamiji knows that yes, there are the diseases in this world, and it's not going to help us to just to deal with the symptoms. We have to create our own nation where we have the rights, and all of us have to envision that. Actually, one of the things that I wanted to say that we don't envision it. Actually, if a new Hindu is to envision the future of his religion or the practice of his religion, if you actualize actually what he's envisioning, a person who's a new Hindu or a person who is, saying Hinduism will last forever. That is kind of the definition that we've been giving. And a person who's not woken up to the urgency of trying to save Hinduism, a person who's just having this Chalta Hai attitude would envision only a museum in the future. In his head is actually in exhibition quality. It's not in living. My life is going to be morning every day, waking up and doing puja, that I'll be doing in a beautiful grand temple, which will have 7 Gopuram, 7 Prakaram, which will have a Mula Vigraha, which will have Vaishnava Vigraha, which will have a Shanmata temple. This vastness is and this grandeur of the tradition that Swamiji is bringing out in us, and which we celebrate every day here in Adi Kailasha, which the entire Sangha celebrates every year with a tremendous amount of Brahmotsavams and tremendous amounts of celebrations. This is the Hinduism that Swamiji is trying to revive, and that is what is the vision that he's having, and that is what us as practicing Hindus are envisioning: our life with Hinduism, not a Sunday with Hinduism that is there inside a glass case. We are visioning a life in Hinduism, and that's what we should envision, and that is what Swamiji is getting us, all of us together, and doing for the. And this is what I actually wanted to present as a solution. Again, Murli, if you wanted to have anything to add there.
Yeah. See, as Doctor pointed out, we need to address things at an urgent level. And see, Raja Maharaj said, like, we also can bring in a context that we are saving a soul. I'll say that we are already that. The only difference between what we Hindus do and the Christian and other faiths do is we are looking at the whole idea of saving a soul from a long-term perspective, whereas they look at it they believe that this is the only birth and this is the only lifetime they ever have to do that, before which the doom is going to happen to them. When we are also actually acting only from the idea of saving somebody, but not as though that they are saving from hell or something like that. But we also do have the idea of saving them. The thing is that how urgently we feel the need to do that and how we do that. See, those people, in the name of saving somebody, they are willing to give anything that is materialistically needed for that person at that time. But whereas we talk about transformation, and because they are able to provide the actual need, like a job or some food for certain number of times a day, they are able to provide the so-called immediate need, which the people are ready to only grab and gobble. So that is why they find better appeal than we do. We talk about transformation. We talk about moving beyond food. We talk about all this beyond materialistic things. But they are actually doing. They are providing the people with what they at the moment need, and they don't understand the higher consciousness, higher need, and that is why they are able to succeed. Okay. So now coming to the solution part, what I will say is, as Swamiji was, I don't know whether he has emphasized this in any satsang. I remember him saying once, we pride in saying that we have a lot of sampradayas, we have a lot of different traditions, different deities and all that. Somebody's talking. So we have a lot of traditions, we have a lot of customs and all that. We accommodate many. We're essentially pluralistic and accommodative. But let us be all that. But let us also have something common in the name of being a Hindu. Like maybe we can tattoo an Om symbol, something like that. I'm not dictating this, but just giving a suggestion. Let us have some common identity that we are a Hindu. So this, if we have, and we can build on that, see, and make the diversity as incidental, rather than that as not as casual as it is now. See, any Hindu will do these things. We have to have something like that. A person who is in that sampradaya will do this, but in this sampradaya, we have to make the differences insignificant. I mean, it should be a good mixture of insignificant in the sense we don't recognize the difference with the context of alienating them. It is only the context of making them also count as Hindus. We are having them. We have to make the world understand like that. So the more we have a common narrative, common identity as a Hindu, then we can actually fight these conversion elements better. Because as I was telling in a previous instance also, when some public figure, some music lyricist, film song lyricist abuses one deity, or some politician abuses some deity, the people who don't relate to that deity don't seem to bother at all. Because they think, oh, who are you? I'm a Hindu, I pray to Ganesha. Who are you? I pray to... They don't recognize other person also as Hindu. Only the person who has this higher consciousness and who, like let us say our Sangha people, after coming to this Sangha, we are able to recognize that everybody is a Hindu. All of us are Hindus, and Hindu is actually only a geographical identity, and that's not the name of the faith that we are involved in. So when we construct a common identity for ourselves about what any Hindu will do, how any Hindu will pray, or whatever it is, some common thing we can work on, and then we can present that to the rest of the world and say, come on, now you are attacking us. I think if you do that, then we can stop this. We can have a stronger, stouter defense to say that yes, you have offended us. Otherwise, we don't have the support. The people who understand that all these faiths are also coming under the Hinduism, that we are not able to say it in a very loud enough way. So if we have a common identity, in spite of having so many traditions among us, then we can do this. Adi Shankaracharya actually beautifully organized us into 6 major traditions like Shaiva, Vaishnava, Shakta, Ganapatya, Gaumara, Saura, that he organizes. Let us strengthen that, and maybe we can create more headings like this to
I think
organize people.
I think the solution we already have the solution with us, Swamiji, through the Kailasa, through the temples. We have to strengthen it more. Yes, we need to be strengthening. Needs to be there, but it's already it's based there. With like, if you see a normal temple, give any temple, refer to any temple, they will have maximum not more than 3 Brahmotsams, and those 3 Brahmotsams will be in accordance to their deity, the main devata of that temple. But if you take our temples, as Raja Maharaj had beautifully shared yesterday, in our in Nityanandeshwara Devasthanam, out of 12 months, 11 months we have Brahmotsam. Each month, each Brahmotsam is dedicated to a different god. Ganesha, Subramanya, Parashakti, Venkateshwara. We the Nityananda temples, all Nityanandeshwara Devasthanams, Kailasa celebrates, worships, and enriches. Gives this to the whole world, where we already worship, and Swamiji is beautifully bringing all the sampradayas under one flag, under the Kailasa nation. So that is, Swamiji is already doing this beautiful thing. We just need to push this and take what Swamiji is doing already, what he has already done, what he is doing, what he is going to continue to do. We just need to push this to the world. Murli, Dr.
Yes.
Murli
so
had
our
actually...
Sangha is doing it. Our Sangha is doing it, yes, I agree. But we have to make this more evident to the world. We have to make this more, we have to press this and make this more evident to the world, and bring in more and more people under the right sampradaya and say that they belong here, and we have to make them proud of belonging there.
Actually, so with this statement, with this point, I'm going to bring it back to
Maharaj. Sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
Maharaj,
go ahead.
I want to interrupt you one second.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So the one thing is, see, right now, our biggest threat is the Abrahamic religions continuously, by force or deceit, they have been converting Hindus. And Hindus means Hinduism, Sikhism, Buddhism, and Jainism. They're all dharmic religions have been attacked. So and then in addition to that, now in our focus, now in our Jivardhasadas today, we're also focusing on our own kith and kin. And you know what, they may not be practicing the authentic Hinduism. Yes, they are neo-Hindus, modern Hindus, they're not there. But at least they are doing the job of protecting them from getting converted. So they're already doing giving us some, buying us some time. So I don't think we wanted to attack them. I don't know if we are ready to, attack, bring the Kurukshetra to that level. Instead, why don't we focus on the Abrahamic religions? They are virulently attacking us. And then, and our own guys, our kith and kin, our other gurus. And,
No.
Why?
Why? Neo-Hindus, when you say neo-Hindus, it means that they are not Hindus in some way, in some dimensions. And that Swamiji is identifying as not being grateful to the source. It is there, actually the conversion happens very easily. These, see, if you look at, they have only one book, Bible. They have only one book, Quran. And if you read through the book from cover to cover, you can very clearly see the ultimate book, which they glorify so much, doesn't contain even 1/4 or 1/8 or how many ever, very small fraction of the life solutions which we offer through our Bhagavad Gita or Upanishads or Vedas. So that, and they can very easily edit it because they are very organized. They can actually throw away the old version in one go, burn the whole Bible versions in one huge fire, in one fire, and release another version which says, see, even our Jesus had said this so many years before. They will be as shameless as that. So we can't permit the neo-Hindus do what they are doing. We have to be grateful to the source, and we have to stick to only Swamiji's way of doing it. That's what I will say.
So no. I am not saying that. What I was saying is, right now we have very few Hindus, awakened Hindus, and we have very few Hindus activists working on this huge, humongous worldwide attack on the, from within and outside. So when you are you have a very limited resources, and instead of putting that big stop the big one, and then while these guys are, yes, they may be making it this, but when you stop that source itself of the attack, like he was talking about, when you stop the attacking piece, and these guys are doing, buying us a little time, so we will go back and then take care of them later. So when you have a frontal attack on 360 degrees, and do you have the resources, do you have the time, treasure, and the manpower to confront this, from the 360 degrees? Or why can't we just only go on the Abrahamic religions rather than going here?
Okay,
so
that's a good question. See, I will say that even after seeing so-called the modernization, seeing the so-called science develop so much and all that, they are sticking on to the Hindu roots, means that there is some affiliation inside their being, that the Hinduism does have something to offer from them. So they are actually only they recognize the values. When you go to the Abrahamic faiths straight, I don't know how much you will be able to, what you will do there. I think you can start from here, and then they also attack only the neo-Hindus, right? They also feel that these are the prospects for us, because they recognize the so-called modernity, and they recognize it, and they are not connected to the roots. They also see the same people as the prospects. So we also should see the same people as the prospects for us. And
yes, but I see that. Okay, but like I have seen, they have been trying to use the same deceit to convert our Hindus in United States.
We are not using deceit. Yeah, we are only looking at the people who are capable of doing that. Our idea is not deceit. Our agenda is not deceit.
No. Okay, so no. Even in United States, the Christians are trying to using the deceit to convert Hindus, any Hindus. Okay. But the people who are connected remotely to any guru, maybe authentic guru, not the authentic guru which is connected to the source, or acknowledging the source, or crediting the source, but if they have connected to any guru, have been like very strong, they have not been affected, are not influenced, or the Abrahamic religions are not able to influence them, are not able to move them. So that's what I'm saying. So when I know Swamiji is saying, he's because what he's saying, he's at the 30,000 feet, he sees the whole thing, he sees the threats. But for us to understand this Vakyadasa Swamiji, already we all say whatever Swamiji says we can do. The purpose of the Vakyadasa is for us to have the clarity within ourselves so that we can do. So in my view, I mean, I'm not able to see that. That so when we have a limited resources, when you wanted to protect, and then this wildfire is coming and then consuming you, and the other thing is going to take, when you're stopping the main force, and that when the main force is stopped, there is nobody to take care of this, the vulnerable people. I agree they are vulnerable because they're not connected to the source, right? They're not accrediting the source, or they're not accepting the source, they're cut off from the source. But when you are attacking, and when you're stopping the huge mammoth, the predator, this Abrahamic religion is coming, religions are coming and attacking, when you're stopping them. But what do you mean by limited resources? See, maybe in one way I can understand that we have limited resources. How many Hindus? It is not legalized. How many Hindus? We have 2 billion Hindus, practicing Hindus, are at least by birth are that. But how many people understand this? How many people are working? Whereas these Abraham religions have got paid employees 24/7. They are working. How many Hindus are aware of this problem? First of all, number one is how many people are aware of this problem, and number two, people who are aware, how many people are taking action? I'm talking of those resources to educate the world. How would you stop this? The conversion, the wildfire conversion, is to bring the awareness among Hindus, right? to bring the awareness among the Hindus, 2 billion Hindus, and how much resources we need to have, how many, the reach out we need to have, how many organizations are working, how many organizations thinking
Inequality.
like Nityananda Sangha is thinking, like Swamiji is thinking.
So what is your idea? I had suggested that we have to have a common Hindu. Anybody Hindu will have these things with them. Is what we should live those values. Is what I suggested. What is your solution on what we need to do about the stopping them?
I think
the solution-
I think this is a recurring thing which is happening. So Swamiji has already done the base work for us for the past 26 years of his mission, and for the past 40 years of him preparing himself. He has already pretty much done the whole base work of how Hinduism should be presented, how we should take things forward. Our job is to Swamiji's already prepared the whole car. Our job is to just drive the car and take it forward from now onwards. I think if we just do a little bit introspect, Swamiji continuously again and again is telling to go through Nityanandapedia, go through his contributions and how he has already organized Hinduism so much, already how he has given the future for Hinduism. It is our job to just take it to the world. As previously, myself and Raja Maharaj were having a little bit of disagreement. Yes, because Hinduism supports multiple religions, it is a sleeping pill, and that is why people have, and that is why, because of this understanding and this concept, means with the wrong context, we have allowed ourselves to get degraded so much. Even though 17th time we rebuilt the Somanath temple, how did we allow 16 times for Ghazni to come and destroy the Somanath temple? So that is something which we need to learn from our past mistakes. It's not that we are incapable of this. As long as the Naga sadhus had picked up the weapons and they were defending the temple, the invaders Islam, they were not able to touch us. But as soon as they sat in the Chaturmasya, they had to. Chaturmasya is the vow where they drop all the weapons and they pick up only the books, the Shastras. They do the Shastra Adhyayana. It is during that time Islam invaded and Islam destroyed all the Naga sadhus and took over the temple. So they have done it very cunningly, and we, for whatever reasons they might have had at that time, whatever context they might have been holding at that time, we were abused and we were destroyed at that time. We need to learn from these past mistakes. We need to make sure that we do not repeat these mistakes, and when we are rebuilding Hinduism now. So as Dr. Murali had beautifully said, the disease, everything we're speaking about is only the symptoms, but the disease is something else. From what I can see, there's more than one disease, and there are multiple diseases. It's not even worth the effort to just go behind and try to measure and try to list out all the diseases. I think the only solution for this is to take the Haritaki powder, just to take the castor oil, and once and for all just cleanse the whole system of all the diseases, of all the symptoms. And that is only possible when we give this point, saying, see, what is the one thing which separates Hinduism from the rest of the world, from the rest of the religions? Because we accommodate so much, we are open-minded to so much, and this was the one thing which has kept us in decline. This is the reason why we are not able to defend ourselves, but we have to use the same concept, same tool, same sword to defend ourselves now. Previously, using the sword, we had killed ourselves. Now we need to use the sword to defend ourselves, because it is this fundamental reason why Swamiji is again and again saying that Hinduism is the future of humanity itself. So if we want to protect humanity, if we want an earth to live on, if we want an earth we should give to our next generation, it's not just the earth, it's even the ecosystem you leave behind for the next generation. If we want to do that, then we need to actively start going house and house, start knocking on the doors, start telling them we need to be a little bit more active. The whole context of why we had brought up the Joshua project in today's Jiva Sadas is just to see the speed at which they are running, just because conversion is a law for them. And whatever reason it may be, it's not a law for us, and it may be a good thing, it may be a bad thing. That is a separate discussion. But just to see the speed in which Joshua project is running, and that is just 1 out of 8 entities which they have. We Hindus need to learn from these things, and how we need to also start running at that speed. We need to run at a faster speed than they are running. Only then, as Swamiji says, we will be able to save Hinduism. We being reluctant warriors and not taking this step is what Swamiji again and again is pointing out, is what Swamiji is again and again addressing. We need to stop, we need to drop our reluctantness, we need to go out and we need to face the heat, face the fire, and we need to start actively speaking out, having these discussions on more public forums, having them amongst our family and friends. We need to, as Bhagavan Reddy Ayya has shared, it's just all about bringing awareness. Once the correct awareness is brought, people, they themselves know what should be done, how it should be done. So actually with this, it's almost time to conclude now. Let's just hear from Rajshekharan, his concluding opinions and his viewpoint before we end today. Yes, Rajshekharan, please go on.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Maharaj. See, actually the difference is two different thought currents. One is Hindu Sanatana Dharma thought current. Another is Abrahamic religion thought current. This thought current ours is very powerful, and we are from time immemorial. How conversion is happening here? I can understand it is happening in Africa or Australia, Aborigines, or US tribal people. But how it is happening in India? What I understand from actually I have been analyzing this thing for quite some time. The political failure in India, it is the main cause. That was a very strong country. We have liberty in following any sampradaya. Everything was there. When an enemy came, we should have been united together and fought against them. You see, we are telling that is what militant missionaries has done. They come to India, invaded us, and created two countries by the British government. We have forgotten that they are Hindus. Now there are two Islamic countries from us. It's because of political failure, Kshatriya's failure, and also because the root level, people are not actively participating in politics. Politics is managed by Hindu-phobic politicians who got their education from Britain. When the Gurukul was destroyed, they were trapped. They went to Britain to have the studies. They were taught by the people who understood Sanskrit through Max Muller and other people. Macaulay education was brought here. So, what we have to address immediately is, even now why conversion is taking place in India. Elsewhere, okay, we will discuss afterwards. First, we will focus on India. We have not only lost our parts, even here is a cancerous growth. What the missionaries are doing is a cancer here. They are sitting inside. At least the militants has partitioned our country with the help of same British people. But the cancer is that we have to fight it out. We have to become a vote bank first. That should be our focus. People should actively involve in politics. All dharmic people come to politics, become MPs and MLAs. Because the few people, they are the Hindu-phobic politicians. They are controlling the country, politics for the past 70 years. Now only it is little bit changed, even though it is not enough. The main people should involve themselves in politics like any other field. That is why India has failed. What Ashoka has done, we should have learned from him. Our Prime Minister should have learned from Ashoka. Ashoka had waged a big war, Kalinga war, lost a lot of life. Real Hinduism came up. But what he should have done, he should have given the country to other big king who can defend the borders. And he should have followed Buddhism. He cannot, as a king, he cannot do that religion propaganda. That is why our borders were failed. That is why there were foreign aggression, invasion. We should learn from those lessons. This is the main thing. Immediately we should focus on this. All dharmic people, it's not that we should not, it was that to some extent. It is after post-independence, it's completely out. The dharmic people are not involved in politics. They become vote bank. The politicians are following them. I read an interview by Subramani Swamy with Mulayam Singh Yadav. Mulayam Singh Yadav said, you see, at least 40% of the Hindus became a vote bank. We will throw them away from the country, he said. Then why that man was supporting minorities? It's only because of us. We have to change our thought currents. We have to assimilate with what Swamiji is telling. Our thought current has to be refreshed now. This we have to go and tell the poverty-ridden people, you see, where they are attacking, we have to go to the root level and make them understand. Political awareness, they are being still there in poverty only because of the post-independent Indian governments. Wealth is there, wealth is being created. Where it is going, all the wealth? There is political corruption happening in India. The immediate problem we have to address is that only. then everything will change. Once the Hindus become at least 50% Hindus become a vote bank, we will decide everything. Who will be the Prime Minister? What will be the constitution? How there will be uniform code? Why not uniform code in India? It is happening. Can we go and talk about Hinduism in Pakistan or Bangladesh? What happens? We are allowing everything here. We are tolerant to see tolerance is braveness. We should not be cowardice. We cannot tolerate all nonsense happening in India itself. If India wakes up, the sleeping giant wakes up, everything will change in the humanity. That will alone help the humanity. That will alone save the humanity. That's what I would like to add, Maharaj.
Yes, thank you so much, Aya. So we also have Bala Subramaniam Aya. So actually he had some technical difficulties in the beginning and we weren't able to have his introduction. Aya, you can go on now. Anandaya, please go on.
Nityanandam, I'm very much impressed with the discussion happening today. I'm pretty much a listener today. I'm very much impressed with what all the panelists were sharing. I don't have much to add to this discussion.
Thank you so much. Actually, even you joining itself is a good thing for us. It's because even though actively we may not be able to voice out our opinions, even the effort to show that you want to come and participate and listen to this, imbibing this and then going and sharing this with your family and friends and with your immediate teamily, this is also a very important thing which needs to be done. Discussion doesn't, the Jivata Sadas isn't something which ends here the moment the live show ends, but it is something to start off our day with. Having all these contexts is being reiterated the importance of why Swamiji is doing, why Swamiji is reviving the Sri Kailasa, why he's asking us to do the Jivata Satas every single day. This is so that we start off our day with all these understandings. We continue our day with this. There's something which is continuously running in our mind, and so that it reiterates the importance and gives that urgency in us for us to stop being reluctant warriors. So yes, yeah, even you joining and just sitting is more than enough. It is all the more it is equivalent to contributing towards the growth of Hinduism, the growth of the Sri Kailasa nation. Thank you so much for taking the time off and spending it with us here today. Yeah. So with this, actually, it's time to conclude. We've pretty much crossed our time limit today. So for all the viewers who are watching us here today, if there is something in this Jivata Sadas, in this Vakya Sadas, something any of us have told which has clicked with you, if you are now having the feeling of vibration and want to contribute towards this, you can contribute this in two ways. First one, you can visit the URL being projected, tinyurl.com/Hindu votes, and cast your vote as to. We have discussed so much now. We have introduced the Joshua project today. We ourselves have discussed so much about the conversion done by other religions, how Hinduism needs to wake up, how it is the greater science, but because of various reasons, we are not able to run in that speed. If you think this can change by allowing Hindus to freely accept religious conversion, or you think religious conversion will change away from this context and will not contribute towards it, you can cast your vote at tinyurl.com/Hindu votes, which will help in shaping the future of humanity, shaping the future of the Kailasa nation. You can also, if you want to physically, actively contribute towards the growth of the Kailasa nation, towards the growth of protecting Hinduism, protecting the thousands and thousands of religions, of sampradayas which come under Hinduism, if you want to help in making and protecting the seed banks of Hinduism, you can send an email to contact@kailasa.org, where one of our people will get in touch with you on bringing the Kailasa, not only contributing towards the Kailasa nation, but making and enabling you to make micro Kailasa nations wherever you are. With this, it's time to prepare ourselves for the Nitya Satsang. Let's enter into the meditation now. Please sit with your head, neck and spine in a straight line. Close your eyes and bring your awareness into your Ananda Gandha. Visualize Swamiji sitting in your Ananda Gandha with 25 heads and 50 hands as Paramashiva. Now, slowly, very slowly but powerfully, allow it to reverberate throughout your entire body. Start chanting the Mahavakya, Om Nityananda Paramashivoham. ॐ नित्यानन्द परमशिवोऽहम् ॐ नित्यानन्द परमशिवोऽहम्